Denmark has sent additional military units to Greenland amid threats from US President Donald Trump. First, the Danish Ministry of Defense dispatched a so-called advance team. Their task in particular is to ensure that logistics and local conditions are ready for the possible arrival of the main forces later. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump is demanding that Greenland be placed under US control for the construction of the Golden Dome missile defense system. According to him, if NATO does not act immediately, the strategic island could be seized by China or Russia.
The United States of America requires the strategic territory of Greenland for national security purposes. It is absolutely essential and critical for the protective Golden Dome that we are currently in the process of building. NATO must lead the process so that we can obtain it. If we don't do it, Russia or China will, and that cannot happen.
According to the American leader, the alliance's combat readiness and its deterrent potential directly depend on US military assistance and Washington's control over the strategic island. Trump is also convinced that without the massive military aid from the US, which he personally elevated to a new level, NATO will not be able to serve as an effective deterrent.
NATO becomes significantly more formidable and effective when Greenland is in the hands of the United States. Any other alternative option is completely unacceptable.
Europe is concerned about NATO's lack of response to Donald Trump's territorial claims regarding Greenland and the silence of Secretary General Mark Rutte on Denmark's sovereignty. It is known that the US president has launched his own large-scale defense project, the Golden Dome missile defense system. The main objective of the system is to provide complete protection for the United States against ballistic, cruise, and most importantly, hypersonic missiles.
US President Donald Trump threatened Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen with problems. This happened because, at a joint press conference with the Danish Prime Minister, Nielsen stated that the island chooses Denmark and will not belong to Washington. His words are quoted by The Guardian.
If we have to choose between the US and Denmark right now, we will choose Denmark, NATO, and the EU.
The Prime Minister of Greenland added that the island's goal and desire is peaceful dialogue with an emphasis on cooperation. According to him, Trump's desire to seize the island is a matter of international law. Nielsen's statement angered Trump. When journalists asked the American leader to comment on Greenland's desire to remain in union with Denmark, Trump said,
"Well, that's their problem. I don't agree with him. I don't know anything about him, but for him, this will be a big problem."
Meanwhile, Greenland's Minister for Business and Energy, Naja Nathanielsen, appealed to the UK government and asked for help in countering the threat from US President Donald Trump. As Politico writes, Nathanielsen stated, "Complex issues can be resolved through dialogue, not violence or force." The minister thanked British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for his support of Greenland. Earlier, the British Prime Minister had warned Trump that the future of Greenland should be determined solely by Denmark and Greenland. As is known, the UK government is already in talks with its European allies about deploying military forces in Greenland. According to The Telegraph, the British military leadership is developing a plan to send a possible NATO mission to protect Greenland from Russia and China. The special envoy of US President Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff, secretly met with the heir to Iran's Shah dynasty, Reza Pahlavi. According to Axios, citing a high-ranking American official, the meeting took place over the past weekend, January 10th to 11th. The publication does not disclose the substance of the conversation, but notes that Witkoff and Pahlavi discussed the anti-government protests sweeping Iran. Reza Pahlavi lives in the United States and is an active critic of the Islamic Republic. With the onset of protests in Iran, he appeared on American television channels, calling on the Trump administration to intervene and support the demonstrators. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump made a new statement regarding the protests in Iran. According to him, the American authorities will hold a meeting to assess the number of people killed during the protests and then make a decision.
"We will thoroughly examine what is happening in Iran. Really terrible things are happening there. When I see these deaths, I can't get Iran out of my mind. We will get the exact numbers regarding this situation."
Trump also expressed the opinion that representatives of the Iranian authorities are treating the protesters very badly. Earlier, the American leader on his social network called on Iranian demonstrators to continue protesting and seizing government buildings, as well as to keep track of the names of murderers and rapists. He also hinted at possible US intervention, stating that help is already on the way. Amid Trump's threats, a number of countries have urged their citizens to leave Iran, which may indicate the start of a US special operation. In particular, similar statements, in addition to the US itself, were made by Canada, Germany, France, China, Japan, and other countries. Envoys of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner, are planning to travel to Moscow in the near future for negotiations regarding the end of the war in Ukraine. According to Bloomberg, citing its sources, they will in particular meet with the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. It is expected that the discussion will touch upon the security guarantees that the US and Europe will provide to Ukraine. According to the publication, the meeting could take place this month. However, the plans have not yet been finalized and the timing may be shifted due to events in Iran. Officially, the meeting between Trump's special envoys and Putin has not been confirmed. As is known, Whitcomb and Kushner visited Moscow in December of last year. At that time, negotiations with the Russian dictator lasted almost 5 hours, but did not lead to any significant results. Meanwhile, the European Union wants to create the position of special representative for negotiations with Russia on the war in Ukraine, who will represent Europe's interests. According to Politico, citing its sources, supporters of the plan, including France and Italy, already have the backing of the European Commission and a number of other countries. In the opinion of diplomats, Europe will be able to maintain its red lines, such as the potential future membership of Ukraine in NATO, only if the European Union has a seat at the negotiating table. Politico writes that the position of special envoy is still under discussion. According to the publication's sources, Finland's President Alexander Stubb has often been considered as a potential European representative at the negotiations.
On January 12th, the ambassador of the Russian Federation was summoned to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Armenia to receive a note of protest, in which official Yerevan expressed outrage over recent statements made by Russian propagandist Vladimir Solovyov. Earlier, the propagandist stated on his program that it was necessary to launch a so-called special military operation in Armenia, following the example of Ukraine.
Are the games over? Who cares about international law and the international order? If, for our national security, it was necessary to launch the special military operation on the territory of Ukraine, then why, based on the same considerations, can't we start such an operation in other areas within our sphere of influence?
The Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs reported that the Russian Federation's ambassador was told that such a statement constitutes an unacceptable encroachment on the sovereignty of the Republic of Armenia and a hostile act. It is also a blatant violation of the fundamental principles of friendly relations between Armenia and Russia. Political analyst and military expert in the security service of Ukraine, Kirill Sazonov, commented on the threats voiced by Solovyov.
The failed special military operation, which was supposed to be completed in 3 days in Ukraine, has now dragged on for 4 years and is still ongoing. They got bogged down there and as a result lost everything. And yet they continue to threaten others. We can do it again. We can go into Armenia. Where exactly do you think you can go, Solovyov?
It is worth noting that for the past 2 years, the broadcast of Vladimir Solovyov's TV programs has been banned in Armenia. The decision was made on the basis of Articles 5 and 6 of the Cooperation Agreement in the field of mass telecommunications between the government of the Republic of Armenia and the Cabinet of Ministers of the Russian Federation. The reason was continuous violations recorded by the Television and Radio Commission of Armenia. On January 14th, unidentified UAVs attacked the Krasnodar Krai of the Russian Federation. Due to the drone threat, the airport's operations were temporarily restricted there. Passengers on the Krasnodar-Moscow flight have been waiting for departure for more than 17 hours. According to passengers,
First there was snow, then the drone threat, then the airport stopped operating and the flights were rescheduled.
About 10 more flights are delayed for both arrivals and departures. Some planes have been cancelled. The situation is also tense in the Rostov region due to UAVs. Several houses have been damaged there. Meanwhile, residents of Kamchatka can't leave their homes because of huge snowdrifts.
Good evening, everyone, and you won't believe me. I can't even take out the trash.
A heavy snowfall started there on January 12th. Since then, the snowdrifts have been growing every day.
The entire first floor, 100 meters, 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 100
is buried in snow.
And there's the awning. We're snowed in right up to the awning. We can't get to work at all.
In just one day, Kamchatka received more than half of the monthly average precipitation.
The first thing we had to do was dig ourselves out. Just so you understand, that's 2.5 to 3 meters. We dug ourselves out, everything was great, but then came the next problem. We can't get inside.
There are widespread flight delays at local airports. Classes in educational institutions have been cancelled in some districts. Bus service in the capital of Kamchatka Krai will also be suspended. People are filming humorous videos of themselves jumping from apartment windows into snowdrifts. Reportedly, the cyclone is expected to last for several more days. The capital of the Russian Federation, Moscow, and the surrounding region have also been buried in snow. There, snowdrifts have reached a height of 48 centimeters, and in some areas up to 60 centimeters of snow has fallen. People are complaining that the snow is not being cleared. In Moscow, residents can't even leave their neighborhoods. According to local residents, because the roads haven't been cleared of snow, buses can't reach their final stops.